Starting to make your way into a comfy seat, maybe elevating your pelvis a little bit with a cushion or a folded up blanket. And then starting to check in with how your knees and your hips are feeling. You can sit with your legs crossed or one foot in front of the other, but if that doesn't feel good, always stretch your legs forward or adjust your posture. And then try to soften through the hips and allow the knees to get heavy as you reach the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. As the crown of the head stretches up, let's soften the tops of the shoulders, let them gently settle down the back. And you can rest your hands into your lap, or they could rest onto your thighs. Let's just soften the fingers. Allow the hands to be heavy. Just relax your lower jaw and your forehead. You're welcome to close your eyes. As you withdraw from the distraction of your sight, start to notice how it feels to breathe today. Noticing the sensation of your inhales and your exhales as you breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. Without creating any extra tension in your body, begin to deepen your breath. Visualizing your breath as it draws in through your nostrils, travels down your throat, deep into the bottom of your lungs. And then as it leaves the lungs, travels through the throat and out the nose. Allowing each inhale to draw a little bit deeper. Each exhale to last a little bit longer. And anytime you notice your focus start to wander, as soon as you become aware that that's happening, tune back into the sensation of your breath. And start to notice the subtle sound of your breath. And watch the full journey of the breath as it travels into the body, as it leaves the body. Let's turn our palms down onto our thighs. The next time you exhale, round your spine, drawing your chin towards your chest. With a big inhale, reach your head and chest forward and up, roll your shoulders back, tip your head back. And then exhale and round your spine. And continuing to flow through this at the pace of your breathing. Next time you exhale, keep your back around it. And as you inhale, I want you to reach your chest forward towards one knee, lifting your gaze forward. Cross your chest over to the opposite knee, and then round your spine as you circle back and around. We're going to inhale forward, chest crosses from one knee to the other. And we'll exhale back and around. Notice how this feels in your body and adjust the size of your circles so that this feels good for you. And continue to observe the sound of your breathing. And let's change direction. And the next time you inhale, bring your torso back to the center. And sitting up tall, let's draw our shoulders up to the ears and roll them back. You could do that a couple more times. And then we'll stretch our legs forward in front of us and give our knees a shake. And if you're sitting up on the edge of a cushion or a blanket, I want you to move it off to the side. And then from here, let's slowly come down onto the back. And then turn your back, you can draw your knees into your chest, resting your hands onto your legs as you rock side to side. Let's bring our legs to the center. I want you to take one palm onto each knee. And then cross your right ankle on top of your left ankle as you draw your knees towards your armpits. Soften your chest, let your shoulder blades sink into the floor, and then deepen your breath so your abdomen starts to expand towards your thighs with each inhale. And you can stay here with ankles crossed, or keeping the ankles crossed, you could engage your abdominal muscles and with an exhale, slowly lower your feet down to your mat. And once your feet touch down, you can allow your knees to fall open to the side so that you have your left foot resting in closest to your pelvis and your right foot resting in front. If this feels like too much for your body, you could slide your heels further forward or tuck some support underneath the thighs. You can rest your hands onto your abdomen here. Try to keep the back of your neck long. And then keep breathing down into your lower belly as your thigh bones get heavy. If you feel comfy here, you want this to be a little deeper, just think of sliding your tailbone away from you. Let the lower back sink a little towards the floor. Let the back of the rib cage sink towards the floor. From here, as you inhale, I want you to slowly slide your feet away from you till your legs are long. You can rock your hips side to side a little bit to loosen up through the lower back. And then let's stretch our arms up over our heads. You can hold your forearms or your elbows with your palms. Let your forearms be really heavy. Contracting through your core as you inhale, slide your arms, your head, and your shoulders towards the right. So you create a little curve in your spine. And then let the back of your body, especially the back of your rib cage, sink heavily towards the floor. If this feels like too much for your shoulders, you're welcome to draw your arms down or cross them over your chest. There's lots of options. Take good care of your joints. If you want to deepen this curve, you could slowly walk your feet towards the right. And make sure you don't roll the the left side of your body up off the floor. We want to sink down heavily through the left heel, the left hip bone, the left shoulder. If you still want to deepen this a little more, you could try crossing one ankle over the other. You can decide which foot goes on top. And then use your breath. Imagine you can expand all the way from your left elbow down to your left heel. I'm crossing your ankles. Slowly walk your feet back to center. Engaging through your core, bring your upper body back to the center. Then draw your arms down alongside your body, palms facing up, and take a moment here to just let your body be still as you deepen your breath. And slowly bend the knees, draw them back in towards the chest, resting your hands onto your legs, rock from side to side. And then with one palm on each knee, this time let's take the left ankle over the right ankle and draw the knees back towards the armpits. Try to keep your spine as long as you can here, so back of the neck long, hip bones reaching forward a little bit, and then come back to that deep abdominal breath. You may hold here, or keeping ankles crossed, will contract through the core slowly as you exhale, lower your feet down to the floor. Once your feet touch down, you can let your knees fall open. So you have your right heel in closest, your left foot resting in front. Adding any support you need under the thighs, or perhaps sliding your heels further away from the pelvis to lessen the intensity of this stretch. And place your palms back onto the belly. Soften the chest and the shoulders. Anytime you want to intensify this a little more, just think of your tailbone sliding away from you. As you inhale, let's slowly extend the legs. And give your hips a rock side to side if that feels good. And then let's extend the arms back up overhead. Take the opposite forearm on the outside as you clasp your forearms or your elbows. Remembering that you could also keep your arms low or cross them over your chest. Draw your navel towards your spine. Inhale, slide your arms, head, and shoulders towards the left. Let the back of the body sink down towards the floor. You can stay here, or your feet can travel towards the left also. Staying in a place where the right side of your body is really grounded. Let the back of the rib cage sink towards the mat. And if you'd like to deepen this, you're welcome to cross one ankle over the other. And then visualize the breath moving into the right side of the body. Uncrossing your ankles. Slowly bring the legs to the middle, and then the upper body to the middle. And once again, once your spine's aligned, let's draw the arms down, palms facing the sky. Take a moment here to let the body be heavy as you deepen your breath. And you can place your palms back onto your abdomen. Let's slowly bend the knees. With your feet flat on the floor, I want you to take your feet as wide as your mat. Let your tailbone get heavy here. Keep the back of your neck long. Start with a nice big breath in. And then slowly as you exhale, let your knees sink over to the right. Heels and tailbone nice and heavy. As you inhale, return the knees to the center. And as you exhale, let your knees fall over to the left. Now let's continue to move side to side with the breath. Giving a little massage to the hips and the lower back. Keeping the core lightly engaged as the legs move to support the lower spine. And the next time your legs sink over to the right side, let's stay there. If it feels good, you could turn your gaze out to the left. You could also draw your left arm up alongside your ear with a nice deep bend in your elbow. So you just create a little more length down that left side body. And then you could think of reaching your left knee away from your left shoulder, keeping your left shoulder really heavy on your mat. You're welcome to stay here. If your body feels super comfy here, you want to deepen this. I want you to flex your right ankle and take your right heel to the front of your left thigh. And you're going to lengthen through the front of that thigh. So you're still reaching the left knee away, opening up through the front of the left hip. It's not about how close that left knee can get to the floor, but how long the front of the thigh and the front of the hip could be. If this feels funky at all for your knees, keep both feet down on the ground. Touching both feet down to the floor. Return your head to center, and then nice and slow as you inhale, take your knees back to the center. You can draw that left arm down, left palm onto the belly, and let's just let our knees fall side to side a few times. And the next time the knees sink over to the left, we'll hold there. Let the legs be nice and heavy. If it feels good, gaze can turn out to the right. And you could draw your right arm up alongside your ear, deep bend in your elbow if that feels good. And with your left hand on your abdomen, breathe so deep that your abdomen expands into that left palm. You can think of reaching your right knee away from your right shoulder, finding that length. If you want to deepen this more, we'll flex the left ankle. Left heel comes to the front of the right thigh. And we're going to press our heel in and draw away with that right knee. So we're just creating even more length through the front of the right thigh and the front of the right hip. Both feet down on the floor. Take your head to center, and then inhale the knees to the center. And place your right hand back onto your abdomen, and then let's let the knees go side to side a few more times. The knees back in the middle. I want you to slowly hug your knees in towards your chest and take a rock side to side there. And with your next breath in, you may roll to one side and press up or rock yourself up to sitting. Stretching your legs out in front of you. And we're going to open up a little bit more through our hips and our lower back. So let's start with our feet wider than our hips. You could sit up on a little bit of height if you find that your body is really rounding and tail is really tucking here. Feel free to add a cushion or a blanket beneath you. And we're going to bend our right knee so that our right shin comes parallel to the top edge of our mat. And we'll flex that right ankle to stabilize the knee a little bit more. So once you have your right knee at 90 degrees, your shin is parallel to the top of your mat, you're going to bend your left knee and just let that left foot heel toe its way across as far as it wants to go as the left knee falls out and that left thigh bone gets really heavy. Okay, so you might reach a point where your foot just doesn't want to go anywhere anymore. That's fine. You might reach a point where your foot comes all the way across and now both of your shins are parallel to the top edge of your mat and both ankles are flexed, so we have lots of stability in the knees. And from there, I want you to really perch up on your sits bones. You can use your hands to support you, lift up through your chest. Try to take your pelvis from being tucked and your spine rounded to lifting up onto your sits bones and lengthening your spine. If you're in a place where heels are in line with the opposite knees, shins are parallel to the top of the mat, you might lift your left ankle up onto your right thigh. And we have imaginary walls that we're pressing our feet into, so we're not overextending through the front of the ankle. We're active there, and we're focusing on this knee being really heavy. Make sure you're in a place where your knees are not feeling any pain, your hips aren't feeling any pain. Sitting up as tall as you can. Now you can stay here or keeping your back straight, your core supporting you. You could exhale, hinge from your hips, and slowly lean forward. We're extending the crown of our head away from our tailbone, shoulders away from the ears, making sure we're not rounding, closing off the chest. And keep nice and long through the spine and really steady in your breathing. Be mindful of your knees. You come out of this anytime you need to. As you inhale, slowly draw yourself up tall. Give your shoulders a roll back away from your ears. And then let's carefully stretch both legs forward in front of us and just let them rock from side to side. And then we'll take our feet wider than our hips again. And this time you're going to bend your left knee so that your left shin is parallel to the top of your mat, ankle flex. And then we'll bend our right knee and let that right foot tiptoe across as far as it wants to go as your knee falls out to the side and your thigh bone gets heavy. Okay, so you stop wherever it feels best for your body. If you reach a point where your heels are in line with the opposite knees, your shins are parallel to the top of your mat, make sure both of your ankles are flexed, and then let's find more length into our spine. Lift up onto your sits bones. Being conscious of your joints. You can stay here if you want to deepen this. You could try lifting your right ankle or outer edge of the foot up onto the left thigh, making sure your feet stay active, pressing into an imaginary wall, and making sure that your spine stays really long as your knees get heavy. Notice your breath. You can hold here, or with a straight spine, core supporting you, you could exhale, carefully lean forward, keep the chest open. Think of your breath moving right down into your hips. Take an inhale, slowly come up. Shoulders roll back and down. And then we'll carefully stretch both legs forward. Let them rock from side to side. If you aren't already sitting up on some height, you might want to add that in. Helping to untuck the tail. We'll keep our legs stretched out in front of us, feet hip width apart. I want you to point your toes up towards the ceiling. If the backs of your thighs feel really tight today or your lower back feels tender, I invite you to take a bend into your knees right away so that you're a little easier on your hamstrings, a little easier on your low back. Keeping your toes pointing up towards the sky, let's just plant our palms on either side of the body, float the chest up towards the ceiling, take a big breath in. And then engage through your core, exhale, hinge from your hips, slowly coming forward, fingertips can tiptoe forward, but keep a nice deep bend in your elbows. You might keep your back straight today. You might bend your knees more at this point if you feel any pulling in your low back or right behind your knee joints, or you might let your spine round forward. So you find what feels good for you. Listening to the sound of your breathing. Imagine each inhalation moving down to the base of your spine. You'll contract through your core. As you inhale, slowly draw yourself back up. Once your head lifts up, exhale, take your shoulders back and down away from your ears. If you're sitting on some height, move it out of your way. And let's come onto our hands and our knees. And coming onto all fours. You can start with your wrists under your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips. Actually, let's take our knees wider than our hips. Rest the tops of your feet on the floor, bring your big toes to touch. And we're gonna start to do some hip circles. So as you breathe out, you can take your pelvis back, across the heels, and then inhale forward and around. And depending on how your knees feel, you might make these circles a little bit smaller. And let's change direction. And then take a breath in and come back to the center. We'll keep our knees wide, big toes touching. Align your wrists slightly ahead of your shoulders. From here, contract through your core. Inhale, reach your right hand towards the ceiling. As you exhale, weave your right arm underneath you like you're trying to cross your right shoulder in front of your left knee. Touch down onto your cheek and your shoulder. If this feels like too much for your neck, please take your tailbone closer towards your heels. You can go all the way back if you need to. Be really good to your neck. If you feel comfy with your hips high, you can start to press down into your right palm and allow your chest to revolve open towards the sky. Let's see if we can start to square the hips towards the top of the mat a little more, and then breathe more deeply into the right side of the body. Pressing down into your left palm, engage your core. Inhale, come up to your hands and your knees. Planting your palms, let your neck and your shoulders and your spine move in any way that feels good for you. And then resting your wrists slightly ahead of your shoulders. Contract through your core. This time we'll inhale the left hand up. As you exhale, weave your left arm underneath you like you're trying to cross your shoulder in front of the opposite knee. Touch down onto your cheek and your shoulder, and remember your tailbone can sink right back to your heels if you need to. And pressing down a little through your right palm, letting the chest revolve open as you twist through your spine. And make sure there's no discomfort in your neck. Pressing the right hand into the floor, engage your core. Inhale, back up to your hands and your knees. Take a moment here to let your body move and loosen up. And then when you're ready, your knees could stay wide, or you could draw your knees right close together. We'll sink tailbone back towards the heels. Stretching your palms forward if that feels okay for your shoulders. If it doesn't feel good, you can take your hands back beside your feet or under your forehead. Start to invite your breath down into your lower back. Let's take an inhale, walk the hands over to the right for a few breaths. Actively pressing the palms down into the floor as you think of drawing your navel or your abdomen up away from your thighs a little, sinking your tailbone towards your heels. So you get a nice deep stretch into the left side of the torso. And we'll inhale all the way over to the left side. Palms pressing down, hips sinking back. And inhale, walk your hands to the center. Place your palms shoulder width apart. And then gazing up to the top of your mat with your next breath in, come forward onto your stomach. And stretching your legs back behind you. You can rest your forearms out in front of you. Keep your chest low for now. Making sure your legs are hip width apart. We're going to bend our right knee. The right knee stays straight back in line with the hip. And if it feels safe for your knee and your shoulder, I want you to reach your right hand back and hold your foot. If that connection doesn't feel good, or you can't make that connection and keep your knee in line with your hip, I want you to grab a tea towel or a scarf and loop it around your ankle to give yourself a little more space. Letting your shoulders square forward. You could rest your forehead down onto your forearm. Letting your heel draw down towards your glute. There shouldn't be any pain in your knee here, so release your foot if you need to. And you can think of extending your tailbone back towards your heels, engaging a little through your glutes to help open up through the front of the thigh and the front of the hip. As you exhale, release your foot, stretch your leg out long, give it a little shake, rock your hips side to side. And making sure your legs are still hip width apart. Let's bend the left knee, never assuming one side of the body will be the same as the other. So go slowly. Left hand can stretch back towards the foot. If that connection doesn't feel good today, or you can't make that connection and keep your knee in line with your hip, grab a scarf or a tea towel to give yourself a little more room. You can touch your forehead down into your forearm, hug your heel in towards your sits bone. Try to sink both hip bones into the floor. Little engagement through the glutes will help the front of the leg relief. As you exhale, let your foot go. Stretch your leg out, give it a little shake. Let's take our palms underneath our shoulders. Contract through your core. As you inhale, come up to your hands and your knees. Okay, from here, align your wrists slightly ahead of your shoulders, head shoulder width apart. With your knees under your hips, you can tuck your toes. On an inhale, let's lift the hips up high and come to downward dog. You let your body move in any ways that it needs to here. You contract your abdominal muscles. As you inhale, step your right foot forward till your right knee is over your ankle. As you exhale, lower your left knee down. You might want to add some extra cushioning underneath that knee. Grab a cushion or double up your mat. Square our hips forward. Contract through the core. When you're ready, hands can come to the front thigh. We'll lift up through the chest. We want to lengthen our low back and hug the front body in. So draw your tailbone down, navel comes in towards the spine, lift up through your chest and the crown of your head, and then let that shape sink forward. So you have a long low back opened up through the front of the left hip. You can stay here, hands on your front thigh, or inhale, reach your fingertips up. You can hold here, or as you exhale, take your right hand down onto your right hip. Gentle side bend to the right. Left hip bone presses forward. We're still hugging front ribs in. Big breaths expanding down the left side of the body. Let's take an inhale. Reach the arms up, facing forward. Come back to center. Use your exhale. Lower your hands down to the floor. Now I want you to bring your hands to the inside of your front foot, and we're just going to walk that front foot a little wider. It doesn't have to be quite as wide as the mat, but just slightly wider than your hip. Add some more support underneath your hands if this feels too deep here to have your hands on the floor. Grab some books to rest your palms on or some blocks. Reach your chest forward and lengthen your spine. Let your hips get heavy. And then let's take our right hand onto our right thigh. Inhale, stretch your chest forward. And as you exhale, draw your right shoulder back, so you take a little twist. And I want you to hug your shoulder blades towards one another. So you might notice that left shoulder rounding forward. Let's broaden the collarbone, draw it onto the upper back of the shoulder blade. You can stay here, or you might explore bending your back knee, letting the hips get really heavy. Only if I feel safe for your knee joint. You might stay here, or you might see what happens when you reach your right hand back towards your foot. Maybe your hand and your foot are friends today. Maybe they're not. Whatever you do, just keep your breath steady. Keep hugging your shoulder blades towards one another. Let your chest open up as the pelvis sinks. Releasing your foot, turning the face forward. Let's tuck our left toes under, plant the palms on the floor, shoulder width apart. With your core engaged, inhale, lift your left knee, lift your hips, step yourself back to downward dog. And move in any way that feels good for your body. You could also take a child's pose here if that suits you. From downward dog, turning on through the core, let's inhale the left foot forward until the left knee is over the ankle. As you exhale, lower your right knee down, adding extra cushioning under that knee if you need. Square your hips forward, engage your core, palms to your front thigh, inhale, chest lifts up. And then let's open up more through the front of the right hip and lengthen the low back. Let the tailbone draw down, navel hugs in, front ribs in. And then take that whole shape, let that sink forward a little bit. And you can hold here or inhale, reach your fingertips towards the ceiling, soft shoulders. Notice when you reach your arms up, if that makes you press your ribs forward. Front ribs are still hugged in. You can stay here, exhale, left hand to the left hip, little side bend to the left. Press your right hip bone forward. And inhale, arms reach up, come back to center. Exhale, lower your hands. Let's take our hands to the inside of our left foot. Walk that left foot a little wider. So it's just a little bit wider than your hip. Add extra height underneath your hands if that supports you. Reach your chest forward, hips heavy. And let's take our left hand onto our left thigh. Breathe in, chest reaches forward. Exhale, left shoulder draws back. And let's hug the shoulder blades towards one another. Let the collarbones broaden. You can stay here, or you can try bending your back knee. If that back knee is bending, it might be hard for you to see, but I'm not resting on my kneecap because that would feel terrible. I'm actually above the knee, right where the thigh and the knee connect. If it feels good for you, you could reach your left hand back towards your foot. Wherever you're at, make sure your breath is really full. Keep an eye on that front knee. We want to keep it over the left ankle. As you breathe out, let your foot go. Plant your hands on the floor. Back toes are tucked. Engage your core. As you inhale, you can make your way back to down dog or straight to child's pose. You go where it feels best for your body. From downward dog, inhale, heels lift high. We'll shift our weight into our palms. As you exhale, touch your knees down to the floor, lay the tops of the feet on the mat, and come to child's pose. You can rest your arms back beside your feet or under your forehead. Let your shoulders soften. And then breathe into your low back, into the lower abdomen. Engage your abdominal muscles. As you inhale, I want you to slowly roll yourself up. Once your spine is tall, we're going to come to sit with our knees about hip width apart, heels a little bit wider. And I want you to grab your cushions, grab your folded up blankets, grab your stack of hardcover books. And you're either going to sit on that height in between your heels, or if your knees feel totally okay with it, you might sit right down on the floor in between your heels. But you'll see your heels are a little wider than your pelvis, so you're not sitting on top of them. Tops of the feet are on the floor, and there can be no pain in your knees here. So if you have stuff around you to support your body, stack that up until you're in a place where your knees feel no pain. If you don't have that stuff to support you, your other option would be to lay on one side, bend your top knee, reach your top hand for your foot, and take a stretch here. Okay, so really important to be in a place where you're not feeling any pain at all in your knees, or in the tops of your feet, or the fronts of your ankles. A stretch is fine, but anything sharp and shooting is not good. Okay, so we're gonna let the front of the shins and the tops of the feet ground down, sink into the floor as you stretch up through the crown of the head. You might rest your hands onto your thighs or into your lap. I want you to bring your attention into your body. Notice how you feel here. If you feel quite comfy, your knees are happy, you might stretch your fingertips back behind you. Now, if you have a lot of height underneath your pelvis, you need to be very careful as you reach your hands back. You don't want to lose your balance. And we're gonna let our tailbone curl under a little bit. So we're gonna reach our tailbone underneath us so we open up more through the front of the hips and lengthen the lower back. And then as much as feels safe for your body, you can start to lean yourself back. Doing this really slowly, core supporting you, making sure your knees don't lift up. We want our shins to stay sinking into the floor so we lengthen through the front of the thigh and the front of the hip. If you're laying on one side, you could switch, roll to the other side, hold the opposite foot. And you can continue to lean back as long as there's no pain in your body, as long as your shins stay grounded and your breath is really full. If you're starting to lean back, your gaze can stay forward, but if it feels safe for your neck, your head could also go all the way back. Take really deep breaths here. You can come out of this anytime you need to, so you listen to your knees, your low back, your feet, your ankles. Let's contract through the core, hands supporting you, moving slowly with control. As you inhale, draw your chest forward. Lift your seat away from your heels. Move your supports off to the side. And then let's take our wrists slightly ahead of our shoulders, tuck through the toes, and with an inhale, come back to downward dog. And you move your body in any way that feels good for you. And then take an inhale and walk your feet forward towards your palms.
Bend your knees as much as you need until you come to a forward fold at the top edge of your mat. With your feet hip width in parallel, soften your neck. You might hold on to your elbows. Or you could reach your hands up to your lower back, interlace your fingers, and let your arms extend, opening up through your chest and your shoulders. And then exhale, release your arms all the way down. Tuck your chin in towards your chest. And then contract through your core as you inhale, slowly roll yourself to standing. Walk your hands up your legs if you need a little extra support today. Lift your head up last. And then roll your shoulders back. And take a moment to draw your attention into your body. And let your breath slow down. Now let's find one spot to focus our gaze on. We're going to come into a balancing pose. You've been opening up a lot through the front of the thigh and the hip and the chest. So we're going to practice a pose that puts all of that together. So let's focus on one spot. Take an inhale, shift your weight onto your right foot, and then bend your left knee, let your left heel come back behind you. Option 1, stay here. Option 2, reach your left hand back. Palm faces out, thumb pointing towards the ceiling. You're going to hold the inside edge of your foot and press your thumb and your big toe together. Hug your inner thighs towards one another. Make sure your shoulder and your knee feel okay. Stay here, inhale, reach your right arm up. Hips stay squared forward. You can stay here, press your foot into your hand as you exhale, reach your chest forward, let your leg rise back behind you. Keep your breath super steady. And remember, your breath is always the most important thing. So regardless of whatever else is happening in your body, smooth breath. Let's take an inhale, draw ourselves up tall. As you exhale, lower your right arm, release your foot to the floor, and then have a little wiggle. And you can come back to mountain pose for a moment, connect to your breathing. And then find your focal point. Strong core supporting you. Inhale your weight to your left foot. Bend your right knee. Option 1, stay here. Option 2, right hand reaches back. Make sure your palm faces out, thumb pointing up. So you have a big range of motion through your shoulder. You reach your right hand to the inside edge of your foot, thumb and big toe press together. And then we hug the inner thighs towards one another. Stay here, inhale, left hand rises up. Stay there or press your foot into your hand as you exhale. Chest reaches forward, leg reaches back behind you. Try to keep your hips facing the top of your mat. Deep, even breath. Soften your facial muscles. Inhale, draw up tall. Exhale, lower your arm, lower your foot. Shake away tension. And come back to mountain pose. Tiny little bend in your knees. Inhale, lift your chest up. Exhale, your chin forward. Slowly unstack your spine and come all the way down. You can always deepen the bend in your knees here, so take good care of your low back. Keep drawing your navel back towards your spine. And we'll hold here in our forward fold for a few breaths. You might hold onto your elbows or the backs of your calves. Soften your neck. And with your fingertips on the floor supporting you, you can bring your body straight to sitting. If you'd like to take a squat, walk your feet a little wider, turn your toes out slightly, and carefully sink down. Making sure that your knees are opening out towards your pinky toes. Your hands can stay on the floor, or you can place your palms together. And hands supporting you, let's come all the way down to sitting. Stretch the legs out long, give them a shake. You can add some height beneath you. Sit on the edge of a cushion or a folded up blanket. And then invite the soles of your feet together. And I want you to keep your heels pretty far out in front of you so we can open up a little more through the lower back and the outer hips. With your hands on your legs, start with an inhale. Lift up onto your sits bones, lift your chest. Engage your core, exhale, and come forward. Back can stay straight, or you could round yourself forward, head heavy, arms at ease. And draw your attention to your breath. Each time you exhale, let your body soften. Let your body grow a little heavier. Allow yourself to sink towards the floor. And keeping your chin in towards your chest. Use your hands and your core to support you as you inhale. Roll yourself back upright. Lifting your head up last. And nice big circles of your shoulders. You can stretch your legs forward. Give them another little shake. And from here, I want you to grab whatever cozy things you need to stay warm during our relaxation, sweaters, socks, a blanket, and then you can lay down on your back. As you stretch out on your back, you might choose to take a cushion or cushions or folded up blanket behind your knees. Or you could just take your feet wider than your hips. You're always welcome to lay on one side too. So if that feels better for your body today, you're welcome to do that. And find a place to rest your hands where your shoulders feel at ease. And lengthen through the back of your neck. Soften your facial muscles. Let the back of the skull sink heavily into the floor. I want you to soften your body from head to toe. Allow yourself to be completely supported here by the floor beneath you. Allow your body, invite your body to be totally still aside from the movement that occurs as a result of your natural breath. And with each exhale, sink a little bit deeper. Start to deepen your breathing. And begin to slowly move your body. And letting those movements grow. You might reach your arms up overhead and take a full body stretch. You might tuck your knees into your chest and rock side to side. And I want you to carefully roll over to one side. Slowly press yourself up and come to a comfortable seated position. And once you've found your seat, you can place your palms together. Draw your attention inward. Take a few moments here to just watch your breath coming and going. Namaste.